The knit front back technique is an increase stitch that allows you to expand your work on either side of it in order to increase your stitch count. This is something you'll use if you're creating a triangle or you're working the shaping of a side seam, anytime you need to increase the number of stitches that you have on your needles. And the knit front back technique does create these little purl bumps, sort of looking little marks on the fabric, as you can see on the right side here. And this can be used as a design detail if you prefer, but typically on a stockinette fabric where you want it to look very consistent, you would not use this technique. There are some increase stitches that do not create that little ridge, which you can watch in my Make One Left and Make One Right tutorial. Typically this increased stitch is used with a garter stitch fabric where you have all of these rows of purl, and so that little bump tends to blend in with the fabric a little bit more. To work this increased stitch, I have just a little sample here with a few stitches ready to go. And you want to, this is an increased stitch that you can work at the very beginning or the very end of the row, whereas sometimes you need to work one stitch in from the edge. So in order to knit front back, you just want to go ahead and begin a knit stitch, but instead of lifting that stitch off of the left needle, you're going to then knit into the back of the stitch, which is actually down into the back. And then you lift that stitch up and off the left needle. So now we've added 2 stitches to our right needle when we've only worked 1 stitch on the left. So we've increased by 1 stitch. Then I'll just knit to the last stitch of the row to show you that technique again. So we are here at our last stitch. We're going to work another increased stitch on this stitch. You're going to knit into the stitch, but without removing it from the left needle, you then work into the back of the stitch as well. So we just increased by another stitch. Now we have 2 extra stitches than we started with on this row. I began with 6 stitches and now we should have 8. So I'll just knit quickly down this row so I can show you that technique again on the following row. So you are going to knit into the stitch, but without removing it from the left needle, go back down into the back of the stitch, knit front, back, lift off. Again, I will go ahead and work my way to the end of this row to show you one last time how to knit front and back. And now we have 10 stitches.